Shane Wallace.
Good morning. Thank you. My name is Shane Wallace, and I'm honored to be here with you today. I grew up in an Army family, moving every 3 years, but I graduated from high school right down the street here in Irving MacArthur in Texas. When I finished high school, I attended Baylor University for 1 year. But after my freshman year, I dropped out, if you know how that first year goes. Like any reasonable young man, I went and sought out an Army recruiter. I joined the U.S. Army and became a combat medic. After becoming a combat medic, I was stationed at Fort Bragg, North Carolina, home of Special Forces. Soon, I was working with some of the world's most elite units in Special Operations Command. Those were some long days and long nights, but consider this: doing a lot of parachuting, playing with machine guns, walking through the North Carolina mountains with your friends. It's the best, worst days of your life. In 3 years, I was promoted to sergeant. With that promotion came orders to Vilseck, Germany. By then, I had a wife, and my son was on the way. But orders called, and we moved to Europe. In Germany, I was no longer working with small teams of special operators. My new job was to manage the clinic, the healthcare, and the brigade. Essentially, I went from managing 30 personnel to 1,800 soldiers, their families, contractors, and support staff. I was now concerned with immunization records, physicals, maintaining pre-deployment assessments and post-deployment assessments. I was no longer worried about the point of impact care. I got to see the complicated side of healthcare, the administration, the logistics, for 3 long years. Someone at the top must have thought I did a pretty good job, because after those 3 years, I was promoted to staff sergeant and sent to Fort Detrick Army Medical Logistics Command in Maryland. I went into this job with some trepidation. In the Department of Defense, getting called to general staff is the equivalent of Jeff Bezos calling an Amazon worker and saying, "You're now going to run my distribution globally." And that's what was given to me. However, it was 2020, and the COVID pandemic was gripping the nation, and the Army Medical Logistics Command was directly in the fight of providing protective equipment to Americans and national partners. As this time started to dwindle down and things were starting to calm, there was a sudden withdrawal of U.S. troops in Afghanistan. That now took precedence of providing medical aid to the personnel that were still there, including civilians that were being evacuated in country and out of the country. As that continues to progress, we took care of our partner nations, but the world is always changing, and Russia invades Ukraine. Before we sent any missiles, before we sent any aid in that regard, first thing we had on ground was combat packs for healthcare. Just take into account taking Dallas General Hospital, packing it all up, accounting for it, taking it to another nation, teaching the nation how to use it, pack it all, and send it off. After doing this repeatedly, constant deployments, rotations to these different places, I'm at my 8-year mark. I had a decision to make. Do I stay in, or do I get out? I felt I've done everything for the Army at this point. I've deployed so much that when I now come home, my son doesn't recognize me, and my wife doesn't know me. I then go on my last deployment where I read a book called Future Crimes by John Goodman. Written in 2015, I read it in 2020, and problems are still relevant in 2024. It turned me to cybersecurity. It showed me that this is the path I want to go. There are gaps to be filled, and I'm the person to fill it. Defense mindset is what we do. I just have to learn how to do it in cyber now. But how do you get there? I'm a combat medic. I do emergency medicine, and I do senior logistic operations. Cyber isn't even in my purview. I started doing my homework, and at that point, I learned through NPower, which is a nonprofit that launches tech careers for young adults and military-connected individuals. The NPower SkillBridge cybersecurity program was brand new in 2023, and I was honored to be a part of their first ever cohort. This was a full-time 3-month cyber bootcamp experience that included the opportunity to earn CompTIA Sec Plus. At the same time, we were building our civilian careers by being prepared for job opportunities, building LinkedIn profiles that actually matter, and being connected to partner networks that we would potentially have jobs to enter. All the while, our class shared the bonds of military service, camaraderie, and an unknown future. As we graduated as a team, each of us in that first cohort went to work in a cyber career. Since then, over 200 more transitioning service members have done the same. My journey took me to Hewlett-Packard Enterprises. My classmate Dango Kumwenda and I were selected for internships at HPE and were given roles in governance, risk, and compliance on their federal mandate team that's FedRAMP, as well as a penetration testing team for product security. So by day, we got to work with the local team in the US and learn GRC and its roles and relevance. And by night, we were allowed to log on and join the India team and go over pen testing and try and break into anything that we could on the backlog. So we became backlog bandits. Anything that was there, we picked up to do. It was the best way to learn. However, after those great 6 months of learning and guidance, HPE bought Juniper, which is a great deal. However, that cut all hiring freezing. So the positions that they had built for us were then gone. We had to adapt and we had to change. I spent many hours speaking with my colleague Dango about what do we do, where do we go? And he really enjoyed governance, risk, and compliance, so that's what he sought to go after. Myself, I really enjoyed the technical aspect of pen testing, so I enrolled back in school at Western Governors University in cloud computing, and I'm refining my skills. This has been my journey. I've had the ups and downs that are expected in a career, but I have the education, the experience, and the conviction to excel. I've made the transformation from defending our nation to being able to protect our networks. So in closing, if there are any employers in the room, consider me a free agent, ready to sign a contract and get into the game. Thank you all for being here this early morning. Thank you all. Thank you NPower for helping me launch my career, and thank you NIST and the NICE team for including me as a speaker at this incredible event. It has been a pleasure.